Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Howling About Entertainment, slightly earlier than usual and much shorter than typical on this big game Sunday. And we are going to do some chatting and speculation about WandaVision. And right before we wrap, give a little update on sort of future plans for the next couple of months on the channel, because a lot of the stuff we've been covering is ending, and we got to figure out what the hell we're doing after that. So, all right. So, real quick, let's go around the horn, introduce everybody. Fenrir, say hello to the folks.
Hello to you all.
Short and concise in honor of the shortened time frame. Well done, sir.
Sorry. I'm still watching freaking Night Court. I'm sorry. I'm really
Night
not paying much
Court.
attention to this.
Fimmer is always watching something awesome. I guess to balance out for all the, he's been also reading a lot of Future State. So
I just do this. Balance all the crap. I've watched every season of Star Trek Discovery, and my mind is into an apocalyptic level of suicidal proportions. I really need to get all the.
Yeah, well, Night Court is a damn good choice.
Yeah.
V-Dub, how are you, sir?
Vigilante with another episode. This is Howling About Entertainment. How you doing? I'm good. Trying to keep it brief.
Don't listen to that in 2 times speed, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, I am getting ratio like crazy on my last
I gave
video,
you a thumbs up.
I appreciate it.
Just another red shirt, but don't ever let anyone tell you that you are not the red shirt, the one and only. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. And I'm looking forward to talking about this. So let's, I won't hold that thing up the proceedings any longer.
You betcha. So, WandaVision Episode 5 had a major reveal. Let's really quickly say hi to the folks in the chat, and then we will get into it. Stephanie Littlepage, how are you? Yes, apparently the great Lord Thoth does have a thing for quickies. Hail Mary G, how are you? Good to see you. Bobby Greer is getting the tomahawk chop ready, and we will be done before kickoff, my friend, so you will not miss anything.
We'll see if they're still the Chiefs next year.
That's true.
Well, let's see.
Man of war, neighbor of the beast.
I'm literally giving up on sports this year. All the good American teams with actually cool names have been getting off the names. It gets boring.
Yeah, it is rough, man. Okay, now, because I have previously heard that people get very concerned if they don't know that spoilers are coming, I'm going to make it really clear, and y'all might want to hold your ears. All right, it is time for some WandaVision spoilers and speculation.
In case you don't know.
In case you don't know.
Okay, let me be the first one to say it. Let me be the first one to run to anyone who didn't know what this was going to be a spoilers. Quicksilver shows up. Probably the other X-Men are going to show up too.
Yeah. X-Men are here.
Oh, guys.
Absolutely. So V-Dub, I want to hear your take on the big reveals, and I think there were really 2, maybe even 3 of them in this week's episode.
Yeah.
Let's start with Quicksilver. So what do you got, brother?
As I said on my stream earlier with Fimmer and Jake D, you can catch on my channel about WandaVision. This got me more emotional than the Luke Skywalker reveal. And I mean, a lot of that was my own feelings about Lucasfilm numbing the emotion from that. But as a guy who not only likes the X-Men cartoons and comics, I do like the movies. Yes, a lot of them are flawed, but there are some good movies in the X-Men canon. So to see that finally mash into the MCU, and honestly, that's what I prefer. I have this personal fan desire to see RDJ and Hugh Jackman on screen together as their respective characters because of what they did. You know, people use this term in hip hop for the culture, but for the culture of geekdom, they both were such important pillars of it, and I just want to see them together. So this gets me closer to that potential happening where I never thought it would. Obviously, hey, if you're going to pay $1 trillion for Fox, it's about time to start using it.
Hell so yeah.
I thought it was fun. And I thought this is the best episode, not only of the series, but that Disney Plus has produced overall. So that's my feelings of it.
There you go. Just another red shirt. Give us your thoughts, my friend.
Well, I can only come at this not as a fan of all of the comic books and the previous movies, but I gotta say, I only have one. I actually have a concern about merging the X-Men with the MCU, and that is that when any television show, any franchise starts bringing in, it's one thing to spin off. If they do a spin off, they're on their way up. When they start bringing in special guest stars, that is not a good sign for a franchise. It's not a good sign for a series. It's usually a sign that Fonzie is revving up the motorcycle in the parking lot, aimed at the shark tank in the tank. So I hope that's not what this is signaling. So all I can say is more power to them if they can bring characters together and create whole new situations with merging X-Men and MCU. Because I got to admit, the one character out of the X-Men that I always liked was Wolverine. So
I
wouldn't mind seeing that.
It sounds like you're worried this is a Cousin Oliver moment.
Yes, I am. That's an even better way of saying it. Yes, I am worried this is a Cousin Oliver moment. So that's the only take I can give you on that.
Real quick, can I answer that? What
Sure.
if I told you the Cousin Oliver moment happened in March of 2019? It's called Captain Marvel. This franchise was already well past the shark. This is, to me, a reverse that gives them another chance. That's my only response.
Another bite at the apple? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
All right, Fenrir.
Well, I pretty much agree with everything Redshirt just said, mainly because this merger does worry me too, because they might start getting too lazy. I mean, if they brought the X-Men, they can just decide to fuck it and just bring the Fantastic Four that they used to have, the failing one, and just call it done like that. Instead of creating something new and more accurate, which they can obviously do, they have the money. And instead of actually trying to appease, just fuck it and pull it. Or maybe they can just try to, well, since they still have Michael B. Jordan as an actor, hell, they probably bring back the failing Fantastic Four and use him, Johnny Blaze.
I don't know, man. That's an interesting thought, and I don't want to see any of the previous iterations of the Fantastic Four show up here. Please no.
And he's right about the spin-off things, because it's good to make one or two. It is a good thing. But if you make too much and constantly bring all these guest stars and craps like that, you're showing no actual interest. I mean, look at Fox has a numerous cartoon franchise, and the more they had, the more they constantly went to shit because the less concentration was given to just specific ones. Comic books work have constant series going because they have numerous specific writers writing the different issues and their own plots. Of course, there are times where they do crossovers, but hell, that was before, when they have a good editor and someone that actually kept the chronology going right. And now they don't have much of that, and it's all going to shit. So I fear that sooner or later, that is going to happen to the shows of the MCU too. And Captain Marvel 2 is pretty much still going to be even more Cousin Oliver than it was.
Yeah, Robert in the chat mentions that Psylocke's always been one of his faves, and he's lost all hope that Disney will do her right. Well, all I need to know that it is 100% true that Psylocke will not be done right by Disney is...
Let me just... They're not going to do Psylocke right because her entire story is about an Asian woman, a white woman turning Asian, and then there's that part where she actually wants to turn from Asian to white. So, yeah, because of racial tension, they're not going to do Psylocke right.
Well, not only that, but let's just be honest. What does Psylocke's traditional costume look like? That's just not going to be done right.
That's the thing you'd see a stripper use, but
yes.
Well, hey, if we can somehow convince them that they're empowered, this is the most empowering thing you can do, Disney. You want to empower a woman. You can empower a body positive / thick woman, a thick Asian British woman. I like where we were going, Lord Thoth. I think you need to empower a thick Asian British woman to play Psylocke. That's what I think.
I originally think they really should go with the original, because the white one was the sister of Captain Britain, which again would open a lot of doors to British fucking public if they want.
There are Asian girls in Britain. I say just make her an Asian Britain girl. Problem solved.
So just make her a bastard, and then they're gonna race change Captain Britain or something.
She can be white and Asian. She has a white brother. There you go. Problem solved.
So she'll be the best.
No, this is
The
not for the
secret love
hub. This is for empowering women.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the secret bastard from the meat on the side.
Yeah. So Mary G's asking a question in the chat that I'm curious. I want to hear what you guys think in response to this, because this is absolutely the heart of what we kind of wanted to talk about in this stream. The speculation. Where do we go from here, right? So with how volatile the soldiers got with Wanda, where do they go from there? They're not going to leave her alone, but they can't break in without Wanda knowing. Do you think Vision's going to reach her? And this is an interesting question. We got into this a little bit in your stream earlier, V-Dub. I'm going to start out with Red Shirt. So what's your response to where Mary's thinking here, Red Shirt?
My response is that when Wanda comes through the barrier and tosses them their drone, basically it seems pretty obvious to me at that point that they've shot their bolt. They have nothing left. I mean, it's just they are not in the same league as wherever Wanda is right now. They are not. You're going to be able to do much of anything. So unless they bring in an outside character, which I would really hope they wouldn't do, they either I think, Mary G, that yes, Vision's the only one that is going to be able to reach Wanda. There isn't anybody else that can, and it's the only way they avoid a total Deus Ex Machina ending to this thing, where they bring somebody else in, and that becomes the basis for the next movie, and I think that would destroy this show. So it's got to be Vision.
I like that answer. Fenrir, what do you think? What's your thought about what Mary asked?
Well, it is. I really don't think the soldiers have any chance. I mean, even if this is just speculation, they actually bring in Photon before this all ends, she would still get her ass kicked. Because, I mean, Wanda is pretty much God in many ways in the Marvel Universe. So, yeah, there's no chance those guys are going to win. And Vision getting into her might happen. It happened a little bit in House of M before she completely blew it. But I really don't see that happening because her psychological state doesn't look really that good. I mean, and maybe if they followed more of the comics and brought Wonder Man into this, I mean, they have the rights to Fox now, so it's possible. Maybe, but no relationship was built, so I don't think it can work in any way. Yeah, they're pretty much screwed in all directions. You'll need a miracle.
I think they have to reach the Vision. They've shown they can contact people through the radio, so maybe they contact Vision, try to convince him. But you guys, you said she's God. I think the spoilers think that the other guy, the opposite of that, may be involved, and that may be involved with how she's so powerful and the fact that there are things that she can't even control, like Quicksilver.
Very good. Draco, thank you for joining us, my friend. So what are your thoughts on Mary G's question here, man?
How volatile the soldiers got. Well, yes, that was as Red Shirt already said. We know that there's nothing anyone on the outside can do, or at least they've shown that. The thing is that we're either going to go in one of I have two bad ways this is going. We already know that the only person on the inside currently is Vision, or at least Vision as he's shown to be. And as I was mentioning earlier in another stream, this is not even the Vision that's all there. This is not the Vision with any sort of memory of his life before. It's the automaton that she's created. The thing is that she's also either here's the two problems. She's either super powered with no reason for it other than to say, well, it's just the one of the Infinity Stones getting up to no good again. Or we are going to have the, quote, Deus Ex Machina of an insert character who is fucking with her brain, which there's been practically no proof except everybody is reaching for the source material. Well, they did this in House of M. Well, they did this in Avengers Disassembled. Well, they did this and this and that and the other thing. And realistically, that's everybody making these theories. Mm-hmm. That's what you're bringing to it from the outside. Now, they could bring in, that's part of the theorization, they could bring any of this stuff to it, but they haven't built any of it. It is completely without source material in the world.
Fair enough, man.
We're going to, I'm hoping that they build something that somehow it's hidden, some mind control, someone with an ultimate power source of some kind, something like that, to make this meaningful and make this real. That's what I'm hoping for.
There you go. So so Man of War says that the old lady seems to be enjoying it. He must admit he's had a stray chuckle or two here and there, but he personally buried the MCU with the end of Thanos, Tony, and Cap. And, I got to admit, Man of War, that is absolutely where I was until I engaged in WandaVision.
Me too. Me too.
I was done, and then they went with something innovative and creative and different, and that really brought me back in. And where I think, to Mary's point, I agree with the rest of the panel. The only way that Wanda gets reached is by Vision himself.
I have another actual thought, though, but go ahead, finish it.
Yeah, so I don't see how anybody except for Vision can reach Wanda. Now, that doesn't mean somebody else couldn't bring about the end of this reality that she's created, because despite the fact that Wanda's in control and Wanda has created this, that doesn't mean Wanda isn't having her strings pulled by somebody else. And that brings us to Agnes.
Before you go on to Agnes or Vigilante, you do something. But I want to circle back to something Vigilante said earlier, and I just want to point out when he said they're going to have to reach Vision. They already have the email.
Yeah, they did.
Where everybody all of a sudden robotically starts reciting the text of the email from Sword, and you see Vision realize this is from outside. It has to be. And he touches the coworker's head, and there's a flash, and the coworker suddenly becomes himself again. He's panicked. He needs to talk to his wife or sister because she's taking care of her father. And where's his phone? Mm-hmm. And he knows. It's like, this is a modern guy.
Yep.
And he is trapped. And this is Vision's reveal of this for the first time, that these are people who are being controlled. And you'll notice the guy says, you have to stop her. She's in my head. He does not specify who she is. And that's the point I wanted to make. And that is where Vision assumes that she means Wanda.
Yep.
I don't think that's established. He might be correct, but he's made a leap there and missed what you're about to bring up, JT. So I'm just wanted to point out they have contacted him. They can contact him. Now the question is, can they do anything with the connection? Because they've done something already. They've woken up Vision to a piece of reality of which he was previously unaware. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Agree. Oh no, you're not wrong, man. And that's a very good and astute observation, Red Shirt. Just a quick answer to Robert's question about the Infinity Stones. Are they eternal? Even though Thanos destroyed them, are they really gone? I think there's a two-part answer to that question. The first part is, in a world where Thanos technically destroyed them, are they really gone? No, because reality would have unraveled. All of time and space would have unraveled. So maybe the physical manifestation was gone, but the power of the stones themselves is still there in some way, shape, or form. The second part of the answer to that question, though, is they're not in a reality where that actually happened. Because if you recall the events of Endgame, the stones are back. They were replaced in history. That was an alternate Thanos, not the Thanos who destroyed the stones that engaged him in 2023. So the stones still exist. They're still around in some way, shape, or form in this new reality that was created through Endgame.
Nothing's ever really gone.
Yeah, especially not in comics. And just another red shirt. You proved that you are the red shirt with that take. That was a great catch and a great take. But I thought about could they have an Avenger show up to try to reach her? Could they toss Hawkeye or somebody like that in as a special guest star to try to reach her?
I honestly don't think so. I mean, why? They have Hawkeye, who seems to have some kind of father figure relationship with her, but I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, they could.
Who did she have a connection with?
But wasn't it Hawkeye? Because I remember in Ultron, Age of Ultron, he had that moment where he was like, "Hey, I'm a guy shooting arrows" or whatever, and he kind of tried to.
Even in Endgame, it showed they had a relationship, of parent-like relationship.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're going to do that. They don't think it's obvious.
Yeah, no, you make a good point, because there was certainly a connection of some kind between the two of them while they were fighting in Sokovia and trying to deal with everything that Ultron was doing with the city that he elevated and all that kind of stuff. You're not wrong.
So, yeah.
Will you believe it? Data-driven analytics.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I believe it more if it was Vision. If they want to, what is the term? I'm glad I've forgotten it. No, if they want to subvert my expectations.
Oh Lord.
They could put someone else in there, but it would be a failed subversion because no one else is going to reach her. Vision is the key upon this story turning. He is the axle upon which it spins. The thing is that they're also we don't know exactly how it's going to turn. We don't know how it's going to end up. That's the interesting parts. Figure out which pieces interact with which parts and come up with your best ideas.
There you go. Well, speaking of that, because I'm of the strong opinion that Agnes is far more than she appears to be, and has a hell of a lot to do with why we're in this altered reality that Wanda's created. Draco, tell me about your thoughts about Agnes.
Well, it was one thing that is brought up from the very beginning. It was something that I remember bringing up the first time that we started talking about WandaVision, was that Agnes knows more than she's letting on. And the only thing is that she's always been there. She's always been key. She also, little here and there, not as much development as I would have liked, but she's almost always inserting herself into certain points in the story that kind of hinge on certain ideas. I mean, the biggest thing was that last one where she's right there when there is that moment where Wanda is talking to her kids to not do what she's already done. And Agnes is there for that. I wouldn't even call her an active participant, but it's like she's observing. She's part of it.
Yep. All right. Fenrir, you seemed to have a strong thought on this. What are you thinking, brother?
Well, originally everyone has this idea that Agatha is something more than what she appears, and I believe so, because they turned the character way more younger than what it does, and that has to have a meaning, because we have starting to see that nothing ever done on this show is done without a meaning. Everything is, apparently it's been put well on its place. It has a reason to be there. So my theories are very crazy and quite possibly just bullshit, but I still believe deeply that this is all a manipulation of someone from the outside, and that Agatha was brought in there as to just watch over Wanda. She knows what it is, because she really does give that impression that she knows what's going on more than anyone else, and she doesn't seem to actually be completely afraid of Wanda, as if she knows there's something more than this, that she's not the actual thing to be afraid of.
Yeah. So do you think Agnes is aware, unlike the other characters, Fenrir?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Agatha if they're actually bringing the character as if in the comics, she is a very powerful witch who has deep connections to a lot of powerful beings in this entire universe. So she's one of those beings that wouldn't be completely afraid of reality warpers because she's not easy to warp out of.
Fair
So
enough.
my theory is that she's either a servant of Mephisto or of Nightmare, as many fans starting to speculate.
Well,
Makes
she
sense.
she obviously is aware because the boys suddenly going from infants to 5-year-olds doesn't throw her. What's her line? Kids, you can't control them.
Which
As though to say, hey, not even I could stop that.
and I mean, that was also a nod to the fact that Wanda tried to control them 5 minutes earlier in the episode and failed.
Yep. And when look at what she's been tipping off Vision, because what does she say when she goes to she's going to quiet the kids down, and Vision is like, oh, wait a minute, when was the last time you watched? Oh, wait, maybe we should do this. And she turns to Wanda, Agnes does, and says, do you want me to do that again? As in, I'll come in again. I'm like, okay, this is if this were a stage play, that woman is the actor director. She's the director. Oh, wait a minute. Come in. No, that's not right. That just sounds like it's like a rehearsal. Okay, that didn't work. Come in again. I'll come in again as Agnes. We'll try this a different way. Because I've been in musicals. It was a long time ago, but I still remember. Yeah, that she has a role in this that we only see in brief, tiny glimpses, but it's not one of the controlled people. She knows exactly what's going on. None of it phases her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if she were look at the reaction of the guy in the company when he's removed from Wanda's or whoever she is, her control. He's panicked.
Yes, he is.
Agnes is not panicked by any of this.
Not even a little bit. She's clearly aware.
Yeah. So that was obvious to me, especially in this episode.
V-Dub, man, what are you thinking, man? We get to see Agnes breaking character, almost, but not quite breaking the fourth wall and having an awareness that nobody else does, man. What does that mean? Who the hell is she?
Well, I think actually I got to go back to you guys on my stream. You guys pointed out who she was to me. I don't know. I left for a quick second, so I'm not sure if you name dropped in the comics who she is. I don't if I'm allowed to. I mean, you did the spoiler warning, so this is a potential spoiler for the series.
I could do it again. If anybody...
You can do it again. You can do it again if you want, because spoiler for the series coming up. Potential.
Nah, tell you.
Yeah, that is the Agnes is short for Agatha Harkness, and that's what Fimber made me realize on my earlier podcast.
You know, after our stream, I kind of had a chance to look in my old comics, and I found a very interesting story. Agatha and Scarlet Witch have actually met in the past, and a very similar story to this one. I can't believe I always missed that. I mean, man, I got too much comics in this room.
Hey, don't sell any of it. That's what makes you dope. That's why you should do videos about your stuff on your channel that has a lot of subs.
I'm not selling a single one. Look, and I found this story. This is a witch, yes, but she was also part of a very powerful group called the Secret Seven, who were in a situation like this, controlling a small community with mind control and crap. Well, in some part, they killed Agatha, and Scarlet Witch fought them, and in a way, she won control of the community. In the same way that she's doing here in the show, which actually knows that whoever is doing this show really does know its comic books. Because even I forgot that, and I'm a very hard person to forget a comic book story arc.
There you go. All right, Draco, get any other thoughts you've got about Agnes going forward, man?
Yeah.
I mean, where are you thinking she falls into, and what's her real role in this show?
Well, her real role. I mean, I don't have to. I'd feel like I was repeating because it's already been brought up. This difference, there is the difference between her that she is playing the part more of an actress in the feature rather than one of the controlled minions.
Mm-hmm.
Just Another Red Shirt got it. Just Another Red Shirt got that right out. That is a significant difference, and we only have the two. We only have the two cases, two characters breaking in a certain way to let you know they're different. Agnes is not the same as Norm. Agnes is playing this because she's inside of it. I would even say that if I were to add anything to it, I would say that she maybe respects the power that Wanda wields because she is fully inside of playing her role, and she's always inserting herself from the cheap seats. She's not actually inside of the game, but she's participating and, like I said, watching.
Yeah, so
that puts her at a separate level. She is a special quantity.
why don't you add on to that by responding to Mary G's question right here, Draco? So what's her motivation though? What's her agenda?
Testing, sort of feeling out Wanda. This idea, maybe I'm kind of colored by the idea of a multiverse coming out of this. That this is going to lead into a Doctor Strange movie, the Multiverse of Madness. This is going to point there, and
we do know that
she is her actually being. I mean, we don't know what Agnes is going to be MCU wise. She's not written. We're not know how they're going to change the character, use the character as is, modify the character, use traits, or mix her traits with anyone else if they are going to do it. Because Agnes and Agatha might not even be, I mean, we're theorizing, but Agnes and Agatha might not be the same person. But that's all. What can you do to write those stories? What can you do to subvert or fulfill expectations? What can you do to really put a spin? Many of the stories that the WandaVision has really kindled in us an interest. Look at what it's done for Just Another Red Shirt. He hasn't seen most of the other material, and he's intrigued by what's going on in this story. And the rest of us, comic nerds and just general genre nerds, and are theorizing about what this means from stories that we've heard in the books, what this means from all these other storylines. It can be any number of things. And now I'm just going to walk off into the sunset because I don't know where it's going. And I'd let some other people theorize because I'm kind of just saying it's open-ended.
I mean, I think it relates into, and we're going to be real time conscious here. We got about another 12 minutes or so before we're going to cut it off because the big game kickoff's going to get rolling. So we just experienced and saw that Wanda has somehow cracked the boundaries between realities. Okay. Quicksilver, the actor who played Quicksilver in the Fox movies, shows up at the end of this episode. And this is not the Pietro that we knew from the MCU, who was this Wanda's brother. This was Quicksilver, who in the Fox universe and in the Marvel Comics history is Pietro, Wanda's brother. But it's not one that these two versions of the character only met for the first time at the end of this episode. And I think that tells us that the lines between realities have been cracked. And so now the door is open wide for the introduction of anything out of the Fox iteration of the Marvel Universe. So we have now seen an X-Man, a literal mutant. This is the introduction. It has happened. And we are told that there is a moment in WandaVision that is just like the Luke Skywalker moment at the end of The Mandalorian. And I don't believe for a minute that they are talking about Quicksilver. So,
me neither.
So, Fenrir, what in your mind could be the equivalent to being as massive as the Skywalker moment in Mandalorian for WandaVision?
Man,
What would meet that bar for you?
I'm reading the comic right now, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities. I mean, it had to be this comic. I actually wrote it in the comment section, in the chat section there. Some of you guys should try looking it out because I'm seeing a lot of similarities right now. And I really think I know who's going to be this presence. I seriously got my money on Magneto because he's just like him. Quicksilver shows up in this comic, and I think he's going to be the next one because Quicksilver showed up in this. The whole story seems exactly the same thing.
As Vision and the Scarlet Witch, Volume 2.
Yeah, Volume
By
2,
and
number
large.
3.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying you're betting on Magneto.
Yeah, I'm betting all my money on Magneto.
So, which Magneto?
I have no idea. That's the main problem. Is it gonna be the MCU's Magneto or something, or is it gonna be the X-Men Magneto? It's the crazy part. It's impossible to know.
Fassbender. I think it'll be Fassbender, or maybe it will be Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah, because and I'm just giving a little warning there for everyone. Keep your eyes open for about 6 or 7 characters.
Which one?
No, just literally 7 individuals that seem to be out of place in this entire story coming forward. Because there's this group Agatha's part of called the Secret Seven, and I'm starting to think they might also show up in this as antagonists.
Yeah. So our good buddy Pablo Geek Tropology is saying he's thinking Professor X. Red Shirt, what would be the equivalent of the Luke Skywalker moment for you in this show? What would have to come in to meet that level?
You know, I don't have that background. So, yeah, if I hadn't seen the first 3 Star Wars movies, Luke Skywalker showing up would have been, who's he? That would have been a totally different moment.
Good point.
So I mean, I've seen a little bit of the X-Men. Wolverine was not the character that would do that. The Magneto might, but I don't have the background to say, yeah, that would be this sort of a moment.
Well, I think that's exactly why you're the perfect person to answer the question. No,
because I haven't got a clue. That's great.
No, bear with me, right? So,
Yeah,
what's the icon of Star Wars, right? It's Luke Skywalker,
Absolutely.
and you've got a lot of normies watching The Mandalorian, and there's this moment of greatness based on what they think of as Star Wars. So when you think of the biggest of the big in Marvel Comics, right? Because you've just said you're relative normie to the Marvel Comics universe.
Not relative, absolutely.
So who is the big name that would blow your mind?
For me?
Yes.
The name I would recognize and the character I would recognize the most is Tony Stark.
Okay. That's fair.
That would be, I mean, and I'm not going to say that's the one that is going to be the Luke Skywalker moment. But, if you're talking about people who don't know it cold, and I certainly don't, that would be the one that I, just from hearing people talking about Marvel movies, the name that I hear the most is Iron Man, Tony Stark. That's the character that I've heard about and heard talked about more than any other. Now that I'm not going to claim that's definitive in any way, shape, or form.
There's been speculation that in some way, shape, or form, Stark is coming back. Most of it's centered around Robert Downey Jr. as Stark, but you make a fair point, and I think the rest of the panel would do well to take that into account, right? When we're thinking about what's the Luke Skywalker moment for WandaVision. I mean, Red Shirt is kind of the guy they've got in mind when they're prepping that.
I mean, let's think for a second. There are many ways to bring Tony Stark back. Either they can make him younger or something like that, or they can use the multiverse theory to bring another version of Tony Stark to this universe. A version that doesn't look like anything like the original, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's only similar. But I still think it's going to be Magneto. I mean, can you just imagine him showing up, kicking ass from all the sword agents, deflecting their bullets and shit?
I think it's going to be Magneto as well, and it may even be multiple. We may get like Magneto with Wolverine with like Cyclops, like a group. It may be a group, but honestly, I think just another red shirt, maybe. But I think just another red shirt, as far as he proves again, he's not just the red shirt. He is the red shirt, because if you're talking about a legitimate Luke Skywalker-esque moment, it would have to be RDJ. As much as I would freak out for Fassbender and Jackman and whatever they would do to get a cultural movement. Bringing Iron Man back is a cultural movement. That's something that Joe Rogan is going to talk about. You know what I mean? Joe Rogan is going to be, oh, that's cool. Yeah, X-Men. But if fucking RDJ is back, that's a cultural thing. That's getting the normie, because Luke Skywalker was a normie thing. You know what I mean? So I think fans would definitely love, and even some normies will get it, with a Fassbender or with a Hugh Jackman or Wolverine. I see your Super Bowl party starting to get started there, Jake D. I saw somebody walking in the back, and I know I actually I got to get to going to mine. But yeah.
Actually, I think my roommate was getting his dinner.
Okay. But yeah, for a real cultural moment, you would need to be as big as RDJ. But I think Fassbender or Ian McKellen or whatever they do is going to be X-Men, and at least Magneto or X-Men will be the actual thing. But yeah, RDJ will be the big moment.
I mean, Red Shirt makes a good point, and I really meant it when I said that his opinion is probably the one we need to think about. Man of War mentioned we don't want to think of it as like comic archivists because we're talking about Disney. So what really is that level to like the MCU sort of comic normie? And I think Red Shirt may be dead on, RDJ type thing. Or, we did hear that Chris Evans was in talks about returning.
Yeah, maybe him.
There's
somebody to return with.
There's the other one, right? I don't know. So, all right, man. So really quick, less than 30-second final thoughts on what you're looking forward to or not from the last couple of episodes of WandaVision. Let's start with you, Fenrir.
Oh, can you repeat that question? I'm still watching Night Court.
Quick time. I know you don't care about the Super Bowl, but come on.
I'm sorry, but it's kind of died for me. Sports have turned into shit. Sports have turned into shit after that whole get a girl into a team and she somehow is the best of ever shit.
That kicker thing sucked. I can't lie.
Yeah, it's kind of killing sport for me.
That art, man. That is
beautiful fucking art.
Yes.
That is just beautiful. That is just
isn't what the normie would draw them back. But if you wanted to really bring them back, you bring back Michael Fassbender in that shit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That would actually be pretty badass.
Actual costume. That would really be dope.
All right.
Last night, me and Vigilante had a conversation about comics. I showed him my first comic book ever with art like this. This kind of art is what will get fans more into comics. I mean, come on. You cannot beat the classics.
All right. So, in the interest of time, guys, because kickoff is about to happen, final thoughts and expectations for the last three episodes of the show, Fenrir. What do you predict we're getting?
Well, I predict a lot of crazy shit. Mainly, I can only see Wanda losing her shit, if not in any way either killing everything or bringing mutants completely to this universe or creating interdimensional distortions that will connect her more to the movies, or, well, not much. Seriously, I can only see Magneto showing up, and I do believe that he might bring someone with him, like the Brotherhood or the X-Men. It really depends on the writers and how they intend to take this story. This can go any way. Both characters are connected to so much into the universe history. Anything can happen. And I'm still very much believing that it might be Mephisto or Nightmare because of the whole bee monster thing showing up from the sewers.
Yep. And that could easily be who Ralph is if Ralph exists.
Yeah, that could be him.
Draco, final thoughts and predictions.
I just want more. I just want more interesting story. The thing is that I'm still I'm still angling for this. This ends up with the MCU, and I wish, if anything, I wish it would hold off long enough to get more good stories. That's my take.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
Draco. Just jump out after the. I'm just staying for a couple of movies. But literally, everyone that actually is a fan of movies should just jump out. I'm just only waiting for the Eternals to see what they do to Jack Kirby's legacy. After that,
We
I'm
already
All
know
right.
that that's a shit show, and they're redoing it. Go ahead.
B-dubs, final predictions for the end of the show.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of with Draco. I'm hoping that this Quicksilver reveal and the potential for the X-Men kind of hold off the MCU. Like, this is our defense against the MCU. You need the X-Men to use, we won't get MCU. So I'm hoping that we get good. I think the rest of the season or the series is going to be really good, real interesting, and I think we'll get a lot of stuff introduced. And I hope we get non-MCU. And actually, not only am I going to sign off, I'm going to actually sign off because I actually had to go. Yeah, real quick, Trevor.
For being here, V-dub.
We can't attack Captain Marvel anymore because she now has the ultimate form of character design and shield against all forms of criticism. She is
What?
now gay.
That
I
will
heard
not help
that.
her. That will not save her. I started the same week as Brie Larson, so we'll see if I
She
can ever
is
beat her.
still white. Very, very, very,
Yeah.
very white.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
Damn
till they
near
kick her out.
transparent.
Right.
But yeah.
Oh,
All right,
wait,
thank
wait,
you for
wait,
having
wait,
me, man.
wait. Hang on a second, Draco.
Yeah.
You have earned the achievement for today's Howling About Entertainment episode.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thanks,
for having me,
V-dub. Red Shirt, final thoughts. What are you expecting in the next couple of episodes, my friend?
Well, I'm expecting that it's going to continue to be good. I don't think this is going to go off a cliff because I think the people who are writing it are not going to let it. Now, I'll make no predictions about what comes after. I have a hope, though. Given what a spectacular job Paul Bettany has done in portraying Vision, and I understand that the chances of Vision getting out of this in one piece are slim and none, and Slim has just left town.
Yeah.
I hope they give Paul Bettany's Vision a fantastic exit from this series of episodes.
Yep.
Because quite frankly, Paul Bettany has earned it.
Yes, he
And
has.
I'll be very, very disappointed if he just stiffens up, goes gray, and falls over before the end of this thing, because that is not what he deserves.
Yeah, and that's similar to where I'm at. I think that Vision is ultimately going to be who causes the breaking of this reality bubble that Wanda's built in some way, shape, or form. And whether that be through him going out of it and collapsing because he's no longer got Wanda's battery plugged into him. And but I think that some combination of Agnes / Agatha and either Nightmare or Mephisto has been pushing Wanda. And the opening of the multiple universes that we've seen is, as we've been told, what leads into the Doctor Strange movie. So that's where I'm going with, and that's what I think that we're going to see, man. All right, so just a couple of final thoughts. I mean, that's sort of the wrapping of WandaVision discussion for today's show. But just some real quick programming notes. We'll be back at our regular time with our longer, regularly scheduled stream next week. Red Shirt, you are making some progress on reading Columbus Day that you and I are going to review here in a couple, 3 weeks, right?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. So for anybody who is interested in a fun and easy to read sci-fi book series, there is a series of books called the Expeditionary Force Saga, and the first novel in it is called Columbus Day. Lots of fun and just a good, enjoyable story. We're going to be talking about that, giving it a review, giving our thoughts. letting you know what we think as soon as Red Shirt wraps up reading the book. So-
Absolutely.
And then, now that the Stand is coming to a close and the Expanse has come to a close, I'm going to pick up reviewing Resident Alien starting this week. I'm also
that looks like a very good show.
I've heard very good things, and you can watch full episodes on Syfy.com. You don't have to pay for cable.
Oh, good.
I just want to throw out there, Craig Allenson is the author of the series.
Yes.
That
Craig
should help
Allen.
you find it.
Yes, that will help you quite a bit. And the first novel is free to read if you from Amazon, whether you have Amazon Unlimited or not for your Kindle. But so there's where we're going to be going. I hope everybody enjoys the big game. And thank you so much. And we will talk to you later.